Welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday morning. Sorry about that delay, folks. Hey, Dakapollyon. Hey, Astro. It is indeed Thursday. Or, like I like to say, Friday Junior. Sunny 4 degrees Celsius from London. Jesus. Yikes. It's gonna be a no from me. That is gonna be a no from me. How's everybody doing? Hey Darknet, how's it going? Alio, how's it going? Welcome everybody. Your title says Tuesday? Wait. Oh, my bad. That's, well. See, what had happened was... I missed, Uh-oh. I kinda messed that one up. Sorry about that, folks. Let me do a quick one. Alright. Sorry about that. I totally knew that. Let me just update everything here. Oops, sorry. No, come on. Alright. It kind of bugs me because this is the warmest December I remember yet. Yeah, it probably will be a trend. Alright, Astro. There we go. We fixed it, I think. We've got a few things to go through, so... Unfortunately, it's one of those, It's just one of those days, folks, where... Murphy's Law comes into play. We were trying to get to a place, right? I was trying to drop my girlfriend off, and we got turned around quite a bit of time, and it took us longer than we expected. Seems like climate change is a lie, right? True. It kind of bugs me because this is the warmest December I remember, yeah. What is a short strim? Short strim? Just a play on... Exactly, it's not a long strim. There we go. A short strim is not a long strim. No, I mean stream. It's just a play on words, I guess. Because I started late. I started late, so we gotta get going. Alright, let me see if I can pull this up here. Hey Patrad, how's it going? Nope, that's not it. Aha. Alright. Dustin with a tier 1 subscription, 4 months with a 3-month streak. Happy holidays. How's it going, Dustin? So you are half cut. Something like that. Like half time. Yeah, there we go. Alia with the 10 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Alright, folks. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Man, on top of that, we've been having a lot of tech issues at work, so everything is just kind of piling on. I'm awake and trying to ignore the stock market. Not going to be a fun 2 weeks. Oof. Good day today. Good today. I finished a new computer build, and it happens to be in line with the game I play, being down for maintenance, expansion release, so no downtime in game. What? Next week, Halo comes out. Well, the full campaign comes out, so that's exciting. Halo is like my favorite first-person shooter game, that's for sure. Alright, folks, we gotta get into it. Really quickly, House and Senate leaders reach deal as they race to avoid a shutdown. The agreement on a new stopgap spending measure paves the way for the House to vote for the end of the day, though swift action will still seem uncertain, as the Senate, where some Republicans have threatened to grind the government to a halt as they protest President's vaccine and testing mandates. Yes, that's what we should be protesting, right? Not the levels of income inequality, not the climate crisis, not the healthcare crisis, not the fact that we don't even have paid family leave. No, that's not, why would anyone protest for that? We've gotta grind the government to a halt to protest a vaccine and testing mandate. At this point, I just assume there's loot boxes and I have zero interest in AAA online games. I feel that. I will be sure to legally acquire it, of course. What other way will there be? Yeah, like there are loot boxes already, Dustin, for Halo. But the loot boxes are for like skin, it's all what is it? It doesn't have an effect on the actual game. It's all cosmetic. There we go. It's just all cosmetic. If you want to look cool, if you want to have like cool skins on your armor, then you can buy them or have the battle pass. But yeah, you don't need it. So, and right now the multiplayer is online for free. I love skins. I love skins in games. I mean, some of the Halo ones are pretty dope, but nah, I don't know. My friend said they like are trying to scam you for money. I agree, it's too early. It's too early for trolls. Alright, folks. So, yeah, anyways, we're protesting, what? Vaccine and testing mandates, not the fundamental problems that are affecting everyday Americans. Gotcha. Both chambers, remember, this is supposed to be the party of the working people. Remember that the GOP has attempted to brand itself as the party of working class, but when it comes down to it, not really. Not really. Both chambers must pass identical bills by midnight on Friday to avert a shutdown, an outcome lawmakers have described as catastrophic at a time when the country is responding to a new, more potential dangerous variant of the coronavirus. I don't know. I don't want to frame it this way. It certainly is extremely concerning. It certainly is extremely concerning, and preliminary data is showing that it is more transmissible. But so far, the vaccines are holding. There's good signs of that, so get vaccinated, get vaccinated, get vaccinated. The new proposal, known as Continuing Resolution, covers federal operations into February 18th, at which point lawmakers must adopt another short-term deal, complete their work on roughly a dozen longer-term appropriations bills that fund the government for the remainder of the 2022 fiscal year. Democrats and Republicans also included a part of the stopgap, another $7 billion in assisting Afghan evacuees. Excuse me if I had like a little bit of a Freudian slip there. We're not very good when it comes to treating immigrants, so bit of a Freudian slip there. But they generally did not address a slew of unresolved policy issues that they had hoped to tackle as part of the continuing resolution, a reflection of the tense talks that delayed a vote on the government funding for days. While I wish it were earlier, this agreement allows the appropriations process to move forward toward a final funding agreement which addresses the needs of the American people. Oh, does it now? I was not aware. Folks, in any of those appropriation bills, is there like a massive like movement to alleviate some of these problems? Is there like what, healthcare in there? Is there appropriations for funding for like education, housing? I don't get it. Why would you say that? Why would you say this addresses the needs of the American people? I hate the reporting mostly covers hospitalization and death. Well, that's important. I want to know more about the loss of smell, taste, and brain fog. I suspect that as time goes on, we'll have more concrete and well-documented data on that, but there is significant preliminary information, or I should say there are significant studies and significant information already to indicate that long COVID can and has not only messed with like cognitive functions, but it has given issues when it comes to lungs, kidneys, I believe. Yes, in some cases impotence, the permanent or long-term loss of smell and taste. Yeah, that's right. All of these things have been documented. So yeah, you know, if a vaccine is too inconvenient for you, just saying. Oh, great. Out of all the days, there's just like so much going on right now. It will take months to know about those in relation to Omicron. True. Kids with vein damage in feet. Yes, and yes. I mean, all of these things are quite possible and have been documented in certain cases. So yeah, I mean, again, if a vaccine is too inconvenient, can you imagine? And some of these are long-term effects. Okay? Just saying. MISC is going to be heartbreaking for decades? What is that? The top Senate Republican appropriator, Senator Richard Shelby, later offered his blessing on plea that we finally reached an agreement on continuing resolution. Now we must get serious about completing the fiscal year 2022 bills. Yeah, okie dokie. Let me know when you guys actually care about doing something useful. MISC is the children's long COVID disease. Yikes. Yeah, so TLDR looks like they got it. They got this partially funded till February, and then they'll figure it out then. Stop it. Here's some very good news. Texas resident gets over $4,000 in bills after getting tested for COVID. Cool. Nice, very good system. Very functioning system. Very good. When Jaden Janik learned that he had been exposed to COVID shortly after his 75-year-old grandmother died from the virus last year, he knew what he had to do. He went to the hospital for a rapid test that he thought he would be free. He was wrong. Several months later, the Texas resident received 2 bills totaling over $4,000. I felt very angry and deceived. Janik told CBS News consumer investigative correspondent Anna Warner. Janik is not alone, although COVID-19 testing costs are supposed to be covered under most circumstances. Some people have been getting large and confusing bills, including some for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Nice. The first bill Janik received was about $2,700, covering the emergency room and lab fees. He later received a doctor's bill for some $1,300. His insurance provider, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, told him not to worry, because he would send him a check for those bills. He said it eventually did send him a check that he used to pay the Tulsa ER and hospital. But unbeknownst to him, a second check the insurer sent him never arrived, he said, leaving him fighting the hospital's bill and getting collection calls for nearly a year. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas said they sent it to the address they had on file, but it was returned to them because Janik had moved. So anyways, this is like one of the most clear-cut cases of why we shouldn't have private insurance. Like, why is this even a thing? I love that the billing system had no problem keeping up with his moving, but his insurance payout couldn't. Yeah, like, like this is case in point, right? This is one of the most clear-cut examples among like the plethora of examples that we can pull out, and we can do this all day long. But I just want to reiterate just how messed up our system is that we have to deal with this. And this guy, Mr. Janik, isn't alone. He's just the case study for this one. But the fact that you're getting bills for what? A COVID test? A COVID test that is supposed to be free or covered? That is wild. That is wild. And of course, this is all caused by insurance companies, which, in my honest opinion, health insurance companies shouldn't exist, period, full stop. Health insurance companies shouldn't be a thing. Should just be universal healthcare, period, full stop. There shouldn't be like, this shouldn't even be a story. This shouldn't even be a story. Mr. Janik's experience should be as follows. You know what? I just had a death in the family. My grandmother just died from COVID. Obviously, she's on the elderly side, so of course she's on the vulnerable population, so she unfortunately passed away from COVID. I was exposed to it. I get a test for COVID to protect myself and those around me. And I went to the hospital, I got the test, and that's it. That literally should be the story, and that's it. But imagine having to fight for months with hospital billing, with your insurance company. Why? Why is that a thing? It is asinine to me that people look at this and accept that this is just the good system. This is a good system. This is a good system where someone who just had a death, who just had their grandmother pass away, get hit with over $4,000 of medical bills for a test. Very good. Very, very functional system. Very good. And I'm sure anyone who lives in the States has stories like this. Anyone who lives in the States has stories like this, right? I mean, even I do. Well, not me personally, but my partner has been fighting for, at this point, months. Months. To get an appointment for a neurologist because she needs a prescription for her MS medication. Months. For medication that she needs. Fighting between the doctor's office, the insurance company, the pharmacy. Unbelievable to me. The hospital told CBS News it will accept whatever money Janek's insurance company sends him, and once they get it, he won't be owing anything more. Yeah, problem is, why is that even a thing? What if this happens to someone else and you truly believe that they're personally liable for these charges? How are they going to be able to make ends meet where the economy is? Right, it's not like, it's not possible. Because insurance wants its money. Yeah, that's really, at the end of the day, the almighty dollar is above everything, including human health. Western world compassion? No, that's not even a thing. That's a uniquely American thing. Literally every other country has figured this out already. Like, this isn't a thing in like, I don't know, Costa Rica. This isn't a thing in Germany. This isn't like a thing in Sweden. These horror stories aren't a thing. This is unique to us. To my understanding, we're one of the very rare countries that has private insurance, a purely for-profit insurance wealth care system. Barry and Jamie Constanzo of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, had a similar experience in September. They were planning to visit their grandchildren when they developed what they thought might be coronavirus symptoms and went only to the only location they say they had rapid tests available that day, Conway Medical Center. Their results were negative, but they did get the bills, totaling $570 after their insurance paid. That's after the insurance paid. Howdy, Heat. The United States is sick. Very sick. Sick system, bro. On that note, can we all welcome to the new sword? The new sword on the street? Every time my kid tells me their stomach hurts, I wince because I can't take her to the doctor because she doesn't have health insurance. I'm in grad school and have to have her on my insurance. That would cost me $3,000 a semester. And the child insurance program is extremely difficult to navigate. Yeah, this makes sense. This is a great system. Great system where we literally have children. We have to make decisions about whether or not we can. I don't know. Can I afford it? Maybe not. And thus I never had kids. Don't blame you, Dustin. Yes, there will be no quota for trolls. I'm not surprised, Soup Poo. Love the username. Jesus Christ, I've been denied 3 times because I didn't turn in the required paperwork, but they only contacted me to tell me that I was denied not with what I needed. Yeah, like, again, I'm pretty sure that anyone who lives in the States has a insurance horror story to tell us. And it's unbelievable to me that people are completely okay with the system. They're completely fine. They've been kind of, I don't want to say conditioned, but desensitized, and have just accepted that stories like this are just normal. It's just okay. It's like they don't want me to use it. Almost seems intentional. Well, they save money. They just take your premiums and they give nothing back. That's a great business plan. It is intentional. It is intentional. It is intentional. If they can keep taking your money and not have to give anything back, then they're A-okay. That's the name of the game. How much dollar bills can I stack in my pocket? The system is never designed to get people on track. It only tells them when they screwed up. True. They tell you when you're negative, and then they ask why you're here, and then they look in your ears, nose, mouth, and the next thing you know, you get a bill non-COVID related. Nice. Conway Medical Center told CBS News that the Constanzas went to the wrong place to the hospital's emergency department triage tent. If they wanted a free COVID test, they should have gone to the free drive-through testing. Oh, my bad. Oh, wait. Really? Really? That is... What? That is wild. That is wild that this is even a thing. Since they were technically at the emergency room, Conway Medical Center said it was legally bound to medically evaluate, treat, and discharge them. In this case, it was for allergies the treatment couple said they didn't ask for. Why would I go to a hospital or any testing site for COVID if I was there for allergies? Right, like, okay, dudes. Yeah, nah, I don't buy it. Like, this would all be solved. This would never be a problem if we had some type of universal healthcare system. Right? Like, this would never be a thing. Examples like this are cropping up even though a law passed last year requires insurance companies to cover tests and any associated treatments, said Professor Sabrina Corlett, founder and co-director of the Center on Health Insurance Reform at Georgetown University. There's no reforming health insurance, okay? There's no... anything that involves for-profit when it comes to... especially when it comes to something like healthcare is garbage, okay? It is garbage. The only thing that is being considered when it comes to health insurance is not the health of the patient. It is how much money they are producing for their shareholders. That's it. It is not whether or not they care about your health. They do not. They care about how much money they're producing for the shareholder. The only thing they care about is accepting your premium, right? And trying to give as little or nothing back and try to take up as much of the premiums as possible. And remember, yesterday's Congress agreed to allow debt collectors to access and contact you through your social media accounts. What? That's a thing? Yikes. So it's why they closed the rural hospitals? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yeah, anyways, TLDR, this is a messed up system. The health insurance just shouldn't be a thing. Period, full stop. There's no reforming health insurance, okay? Because, like, how do you reform that? What are you supposed to do? Add more regulations? Okay. The problem at the core of it is attempting to tie health with profit. You cannot do both, okay? You cannot claim to be a health insurance provider when you're not providing anything except profit. That's literally the only thing they care about. They do not care about the actual product of healthcare. Part of it is because our healthcare system is very complicated and confusing. Yeah, that's kind of a problem, isn't it? Right? Because it shouldn't be that hard or complicated or confusing. It should be, hey, I need this, and then you just go to the doctor. That's it. Hey, I need I don't know, I need a COVID test. And then that's it. That's the end of the story. Like, this shouldn't even be news. And in an ideal world, that can absolutely happen should we have the political will to do it. In an ideal world, we would never be covering a story like this. This just wouldn't exist. You would say, all right, I need a COVID test. And you go to the COVID, pharmacy or hospital or doctor's office. You get the COVID test, and then that's it. That's the end of the story. That's it. Yeah, message me, whisper me, the article. Whisper me the article. Yeah, so like I said, the TLDR is that this shouldn't even be a thing. Coronavirus testing are supposed to be covered 100% by insurance companies, but she has been hearing of some providers tacking on certain fees, sometimes called facility fees or emergency room fees. Like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? This is wild to me. They had him wait 3 months before a specialist was able to see him. With insurance, he had to wait 3 months. Oh yeah. But please tell me the problems with universal healthcare, where there's a 10,000 year long wait to see a doctor. Right, because that never happens here. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry to hear that, Soup. This is unbelievable to me. Yeah, so TLDR, go to the pharmacy. The couple's insurance company, Blue Choice Health Plan of South Carolina, did not respond to repeated requests for comments. Yeah, screw health insurance companies, honestly. When it comes to like health insurance, it should just all be gone. It just shouldn't be a thing. Debt collectors call me for medical debt, and I wish that was illegal. Yeah, like imagine the concept of medical debt. Sorry, my job is having like some massive tech issues too. Like I said, everything that could go wrong is happening today. Jesus. What day is it today? I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place. Okay, today's Thursday. Jesus. Debt collectors, yeah, like imagine the concept of medical debt. Imagine the concept of medical debt. How's it going, Dendera? Anyways, folks, TLDR, private health insurance, bad. This should never be a thing. This should never be a thing. Supreme Court conservatives appear to be willing to gut abortion rights. Here we go. Conservative U.S. Court justices on Wednesday signaled a willingness to dramatically curtail abortion rights in America and perhaps overturn the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling that legalized the procedure nationwide, as they indicated they would uphold a restrictive Republican-backed Mississippi law. The court, which had a 6-3 conservative majority, heard about 2 hours of oral arguments in the southern state's bid to revive its ban on abortion starting at 15 weeks of pregnancy, a law blocked by lower courts. The liberal justices warned against ditching important and long-standing legal precedents like Roe and abandoning a right American women have come to rely upon. Jackson's Women's Health Organization, the only abortion clinic in Mississippi, challenged the law and has support of Democratic President Joe Biden's administration. A ruling is expected by the end of June. That's June of 2022, I believe. Roe v. Wade recognized the right to personal privacy under the U.S. Constitution, protects a woman's ability to terminate her pregnancy. The Supreme Court in a 1992 ruling called Planned Parenthood of Southeastern Pennsylvania versus Casey reaffirmed abortion rights and prohibited laws imposing an undue burden on abortion access. Mississippi asked justices to overturn Roe and Casey rulings. Yeah. Conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh voiced a view often expressed by abortion opponents that nothing in the Constitution protects abortion rights. Yeah, but please, tell me. Why? So this is again just to bring up the importance and the consequences that elections can have, and just how the ripple effects do affect people. This is an interesting one for sure. We won't know for a long time, but the justices do seem somewhat divided on the issue, split into what I understand as 3 different camps of pro, anti, and middle ground. Yeah, like the reality is James Napper, the only correct decision, in my opinion, is to leave that choice to women, leave that choice to the person, and I see no reason as to why the state needs to get involved. I literally see no reason as to why the state needs to be involved, period, full stop. The Constitution is neither pro-life nor pro-choice on the question of abortion, but leaves the issues to the people of the states or perhaps Congress to resolve in the democratic process. Nah. If Roe was overturned, many states would continue to freely allow abortion. Before the Roe ruling, many states banned abortions. Yeah, like that's not a good logic. That's incredibly flawed, right? Because the moment the decision is overturned, then half the country, half the United States would be a anti-woman state. Half the country would have outlawed abortion outright. Quote, women have an equal right to liberty under the Constitution, Your Honor. If they're not able to make this decision, if states can take control of women's bodies and force them to endure months of pregnancy and childbirth, then they will never have equal status under the Constitution. True. The whole crux of it is just leave the choice to the person. That's it. That's it. Leave the choice to the person. Although the justices are fully aware of the public opinion on it and the link between public faith and the institution of the Supreme Court itself, so I would imagine any sensible person would factor that. Yeah, that's the quantifier, right? Any sensible person. Yeah, well. Anyways, TLDR, this is going to be a monumental case that we're gonna keep track of as it progresses throughout the next 6 months, 7 months, when we will see a decision. Definitely pay attention, folks. Stay engaged. That's the best thing that I could say. Stay engaged. I understand that sometimes it's incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly daunting, kind of like black-pilled. But stay engaged. Dude, I'm already famous. Do they not know who I am? Anyways, TLDR, stay engaged. I know it's hard. I know it can feel frustrating, angering. But this is why we need to stay engaged. This is why we need to stay engaged. I'd be that I would trust that they're not so ridiculously naive as to undermine abortion in a way that calls into question the legitimacy of court and also amplifies the divided nature of the nation. The Supreme Court isn't there to uphold American democracy, but their actions could undermine it. And I'd have faith they can acknowledge that responsibility, but I've been wrong before. Yeah, I don't trust 6-3 conservative majority, so sorry. I see a real danger of, and remember, this was the entire goal at the end of the day. It was repeated. Not once, not in passing, but consistently throughout the 2016, right? Throughout 2016, one of the major selling points for Donald Trump was that he would be selecting justices with the purposeful intent of overturning Roe and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. It wasn't like something mentioned in passing. It wasn't something secret. Yeah, Elio, I suspect they don't care though. I think that was the point. Definitely something we will be following. We will be following as the case progresses, that's for sure. That is for sure. I'd like to think that people like Kavanaugh and Barrett are intelligent enough to understand the consequences of this and not as short-sighted as your average partisan politician. Well, the thing is, obviously they must have some type of knowledge or legal standing or precedent to understand this. They just don't care. They're activist justices, right? They're not there and they were selected on purpose. They were selected on purpose, and I suspect that it is quite possible. I'm not saying that this is the preconceived or predetermined outcome, but it is definitely quite possible that this is what they are going to do. The danger is real, is what I'm trying to say. One of the judges called it out. I both present claims quoted from the conservative majority for the reason to challenge the law. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Astro. The reason why they're there, the reason why they were specifically nominated in the first place from the Federalist Society was to do this. Anyone who advocates for freedom must support upholding Roe v. Wade decision, otherwise you're just a massive hypocrite and lying to yourself. Conservatives can't be all about freedom and against women's freedom of choice. The problem we're having here, Silver Knight and Tendera, is that you assume that you assume that conservatives see women as people. They don't. We're operating under the assumption that they see women as people. They don't. Yeah, just stating logic. Obviously, yeah, you're absolutely correct, Silver Knight Dragon. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, on paper, on paper, they're there to preside over the law and constitution, not to enact their own beliefs or preferences. Obviously, from the outside, that seems like a ridiculous concept, but some decisions may appear in contrast to that. But legal professionals are trained in very similar ways to historians, and we're not supposed to do that. Supposed to. Yeah, you're using very key words there, my friend. No, I agree with you, Silver Knight Dragon. They also can't be pro-life, pro-war, and anti-healthcare. Right. They live in this 1984 double think where they can they have simultaneously all of these positions these contradicting positions at the same time. But in reality, it's just very simple. They actually aren't pro-life. They actually aren't about freedom. They really aren't. Now that sounds like communism to me. True. I assume everything. Yeah, so like, the thing is, clearly, if you believe this, if you think that women don't have the right to choose, that people don't have the right to choose what happens to their own body, meaning like what happens to their own body. I don't mean like what happens to like other people. If you're affecting other people, then that's no longer the case, right? I'm talking about what affects you. Then you're not really for freedom, are you? You're not really. There's nothing pro-life about any of these, about any of the thought process here that's being used to go against abortion. Ronald Reagan claimed to be pro-life, but then he died. What a hypocrite, dude. True. True. You can't be pro-life and vote against, like, healthcare. You can't be pro-life and vote against things that would indeed be pro-life, expanding and creating a universal healthcare system, giving children and parents more resources. Forcing someone to give birth is insane. Yeah, exactly. I agree. You can't be pro-life and be a Republican. That's like a contradiction. Yeah, they live in that double think. The only freedom is they embrace the freedom from consequences from the choices they make, but the freedom from having bad fifis. Right. That always kind of seems the case, right? They actually don't care about freedom at the end of the day. They actually don't care about personal responsibility, because when the chips are down, when they have to face consequences for the actions that they have done, take personal responsibility for the actions that they've done, all that goes out the window. All that goes out the window. And nothing has shown that. Nothing has blown that wide open than this pandemic, right? Nothing has blown that open than this pandemic. I am all about personal responsibility. Except I don't want to take personal responsibility, and I want to shove the consequences of not taking personal responsibility onto others. That's literally the reaction we're getting. They can't they can't get rid of abortions. They can make it illegal and take away the option to have it done professionally. Correct. And that leads to a lot of harm. Oh yeah, dude, I'm so pro-life. I'm so pro-life that I'll exactly aid brutal fascist dictatorships in the Middle East. I'm so pro-life that I'll support slave labor in China, and I'll let my own citizens die of lack of proper medical care by the tens of thousands. That's right, tens of thousands of people do die because they are unable to get basic preventative care here. Like, you can get into the idea, well, conservatives are entitled to hold their own opinion and make the best decision while in office for the nation. I mean, it's a genuine discussion, but I don't think the U.S. in its current form is a safe, reasonable place to have that discussion. Yeah, you're entitled to hold an opinion. The problem is, when your opinion is harmful to, and your opinion affects a lot of people, then yeah, I don't know, then why are you in government? Like, I don't get it. People like Rand Paul, why are you in government if your entire ideology is to be as contrarian and as useless as possible? Like, why are you even there? Why are you even there? The most applicable moment for it to be undone, yet it's still uncertain, which I guess shows the sway of the public voice. Well, that may be true, James Napper. I think that if Roe v. Wade survives, especially in this environment, I think if Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey survives, then I think this is like prime ground in terms of, like, if you're an activist to try to take away people's rights, this is the time, right? You've got all the pieces aligned. You've got a 6-3 supermajority. It's not even like a one justice majority. You've got a 6-3 majority. This is the time to undo it. If you want to continue to dismantle people's rights, yeah, this is the perfect time to do it. If it survives this, then yeah, I think you're right. You're not gonna undo it. You're not gonna undo it, and maybe it might. If it survives, it might actually be beneficial because it's gonna swing back. Because, like you said, the sway of the public voice. Maybe there'll be massive backlash to the idea of this. I hope. Rand Paul, he's there for the donor money. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Republicans don't have any principles. They're not anti some specific policy. They're whatever lets them and their friends stay on top of the social hierarchy. Yeah, they're whatever helps them. Like, at least this day and age, it feels like this reiteration or this version of the Republican conservative kind of deal is, hey, whatever memes are necessary to trigger the libs, is what I'm going to believe in. Whatever makes my fifis good, then that's what I'm going to do, as long as it triggers the libs, right? Alright, folks. Shifting gears. Rain fell at Greenland summit this year for the first time. First time, folks. To note that not all Republicans support this either. The biggest determinant on someone being pro-life in the US is if they're a white evangelical Protestant male, because most of the demographics are kind of against it. Yeah, but you can reasonably assert, I'm not saying everyone, but you can reasonably assert that the overwhelming, and I mean like, I would even bet money on it being 90+% of white evangelical Protestant males being Republicans / conservatives, right? And to add to that, James Napper, that demographic, what you're talking about, white evangelical, specifically evangelical Protestant male, has a massive sway on the Republican Party. So yeah, I do kind of think that that's on them. It was founded by abolitionists. It used to be the socially progressive party, but they thought that they could court votes by being racist and bigots. So the party switch happened. Yeah, you're talking about the Southern strategy, which happened in the 60s, right? Was it the 60s or before? 50s to 60s? Even most Catholics are in favor of abortion access. Yeah, I do believe, yes, I do believe you are correct. Well, yeah, but I'm saying that there are more Democrats who are pro-choice than there are Republicans who are pro-life. Wait, what? There are more Democrats who are pro-choice than there are Republicans who are pro-life. Wait. There are more Democrats who are pro-choice, yes, than there are Republicans who are pro-life. Okay, I could believe that. Because the majority of the country is pro-life. And the majority of the country does more or less align with that, regardless. So I think I could believe that. Whereas Republicans are less heavy pro-life, so it sits about 80 Dems, 65 Republicans. Gotcha. Yeah, exactly. Silver Knight Dragon. Yeah, like the majority of the country, as is, already believes in pro-choice. So, like, yeah, I see where that can, yeah, I believe that stat. I believe that could be true. Alright, folks, shifting gears. Make sure my stuff is starting to set up here. Rain fell at Greenland summit this year for the first time. It's going to happen more often. Rain fell on the summit of Greenland instead of snow for the first time on record in August as the northern hemisphere experienced warmer than usual summer temperatures. A new study suggests that's likely the norm in just 4 or 5 decades. By the way, 4 or 5 decades is, well, within my lifetime. Howdy, spread it forward. Okay. Let me just make sure I got this. Okay, that was a lot faster than I thought. Okay, looks like a lot of these tech issues were resolved within that hour. Thank goodness. Alright. Sorry about that. Climate crisis, yeah. What do you think we should do about it? between 2060 and 2070 means by next Tuesday. Unironically, in terms of like time, that's really not that it's really not that that far off, right? In the grand scheme of things, like 2070, it is quite it is a possibility. It is a possibility that we will see it. I mean, at least I might. If I live that long. By the way, I was talking to Bayla a few days back. She seemed actually interested in this little idea we were bouncing around. Excellent! Do I reach her out through Whispers on Twitch, or can I email her? Rain fell on... Oh yes, new studies suggest that that's the norm in 4 or 5 decades. The Arctic is expected to experience more rain than snow sometime between 2060 and 2070. Again, like Darknet said, that's just basically next Tuesday in terms of the grand scheme of things, marking a major transition in its precipitation patterns as the climate crisis jacks up temperature in the region, according to a study published on Tuesday in the journal Nature Communications. The Arctic new climate modeling shows the transition could happen earlier than scientists had projected. Michelle McChrystal, the lead author of the study and climate researcher at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg, told CNN that earlier modeling suggested it wouldn't occur until 2090 and 2100. Right, again, even if it did, that seems like not that long, okay? That's about 80-ish, 80 to 90 years. That is not long, okay? That is not long in the grand scheme of things. That is the generation and the generation that follows. So that's not really long, even if it is the original assumption of 2090 to 2100, right? I spoke to her on Discord. She's also on TikTok these days. I tried to be on TikTok, and then I realized how like conspiratorial and rabbit hole-y TikTok can be. I try, but it's so hard. First of all, it's hard to keep up on all these social media platforms. But I don't like TikTok, but I guess I could. Twitter is an easy way to get... Oh, you're absolutely correct. Okay, remember that. Twitter. You're absolutely correct. But with these new sets of models, it actually has been pushed forward to about 2060 to 2070, so there's quite a jump by 20 years. Yeah, so it seems like every time we get like new information, it never seems to be good, right? It never seems to be good. Like, that is just like a wild thing to think about, right? The Arctic is moving from... The weather patterns are moving from like snow to just straight up rain. It is raining on the Arctic. And in a few decades, that will just be the norm. That will just be the norm. That is just a wild concept to think about. The study notes that the increase in rainfall is due to large part of the loss of sea ice. More open water and warmer air temperatures mean more evaporation, which primes the atmosphere for a wetter Arctic. The researchers say a rainfall-dominated Arctic has the potential to destabilize Greenland's ice sheet mass balance, triggering a global rise in sea levels. Right, each one of these things has domino effects. Things that happen in the Arctic don't specifically stay in the Arctic. The fact that there could be an increase in emissions from permafrost thaw or an increase in global sea level rise. It is a global problem, and it needs a global answer. True. In August, the UN's IPCC published its authoritative report, which concluded that the planet is quickly approaching 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures, a threshold scientists say the world should stay under to avoid the worst consequences of the climate crisis. But authors on Tuesday's study said the transition from snow to rain will likely occur into some part of the Arctic, particularly Greenland, even if the warming is contained to 1.5 degrees, which I believe the IPCC also acknowledged the fact that a lot of these things are already locked in. Regardless, a lot of these things are locked in. However, that doesn't mean that we just throw our hands up and say, well, it's happening anyways. No. That is a possibility, Soup. That is a possibility. among myriad of different problems and ecological disasters. Yes, it is possible that we will be seeing pandemics and viruses and bacteria that we have not come into contact with, which could present its own problems. And yes, James Napper is absolutely correct. That is a other factor. That is a other factor to consider. It's just so like multifaceted because like I've just kind of related this to like dominoes, like falling dominoes. Because each thing that changes has significant domino effects, right? Some of which we haven't even fully grasped. So it's just also like the Earth's system itself is unbelievably complex. And just one thing, could have like ramifications and ripple effects that we have yet to get a good grasp on. We don't really know what effect the melting of the Arctic will have. Yes, in terms of like complete understanding of it, nope. I mean, we can like kind of suspect or guess that we are going to see like certain things for sure increasing sea level rise and things like that. But all of these things have their own ripple effects that we just haven't really gotten a grasp of it. And those emissions aren't really factored into a lot of models. I don't imagine because they're unquantifiable just now. Yeah, I mean, like, there is a lot of stuff that despite us having very good technology and despite us having very good and updated models, we still have question marks around certain effects. If I may, born with cerebral palsy, I know and I've seen many authority figures abuse their power and methods. Please don't give up. Persistent determination in life is important. I agree. I appreciate that. First, we should immediately sanction the coal industry, among other things. Improved public transit. I like that. Focus on alternative energy sources. We have a united effort that can invest in alternative energy in the third world. Refugee locations. Decommodify housing. Okay. I mean, like, all of these things should happen kind of like as par for the course, right? If we did stay in a 1.5 degree world, the Arctic could remain snow dominant by the end of the century, but some parts will still transition, and some of them are already transitioning, McChrystal said. But we are still on the trajectory of a 3 degree world. That's twice the recommended level. Though scientists not involved with the study overwhelmingly agree that the Arctic is undergoing rapid change amid the climate crisis, some expressed caution about the study's results and specifically pointed to the critical need for more observation and more research. Tim Palmer, a climate physicist at the University of Oxford, said future Arctic precipitation needs more careful quantification. At this point, all this points to the need for high-quality observation of precipitation for regions such as the Arctic and the development of a new class of high-resolution climate models with smaller biases and more realistic estimates of natural variability on the regional scale. Together, these will give us more confidence in the impact of carbon emissions on precipitation in places like the Arctic. We need these urgently if we are to impact mitigation policy. Well, I guess, like, then the question would be like, hey, can we just, like, start working on mitigation policies now? When everyone runs out of water in Arizona and New Mexico and has to move, that's going to be wild. Yeah, that's exactly some of the things we've been discussing in this journal thing. A lot of places are going to run out of water. Yep. There are some industries we should kill. Cruises, for example, kill those death machines. F anybody who runs a cruising company. I can take some peace in knowing that I'll be dead before anything really goes to shit. Well, wouldn't then be the impetus to try to do what we can? Because I might not be here as well. I don't know. What if we are? What if things accelerate faster than you, or faster than we imagine, as continuous data shows? Maybe we should keep fighting. Maybe we should keep doing what we can within the time we have, within the tools that we have. I don't know. Just a thought. Bob Spicer, Professor Emeritus at the Open University, who spends years studying past climates of the Arctic, said this research is entirely in line with what the fossil record tells us the Arctic was like during the previous episodes of global warmth. Right, so that's not good. That's not good, because we're the ones that are inducing this. Scientists have concluded that burning fossil fuels lead to Greenland melting over the past 2 decades. A recent study published in journal Cryosphere found Earth has lost a staggering 28 trillion tons of ice since the mid-1990s, a large portion of which was from the Arctic, including the Greenland ice sheet. The region already saw a preview of its rainy future last August, when temperatures at the Greenland summit rose above freezing for the 3rd time in less than a decade. Warm air fueled an extreme rain event that dumped 7 billion tons of waters on the ice sheet, enough to fill the reflecting pool at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. nearly 250,000 times. Yikes. True. James Napper. Hey Chad, I'm making a cult. Who wants to join? I'll be the cult of the apocalypse. We can all hang out in bunker. No. No. When it's all dry, it's going to be a big flood of people moving in one single stroke. Yeah. You're on one of those future unlivable zones, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. I can walk to a seawall if I wanted to. I do everything that I can, but I also need to accept the things I'm powerless to change, otherwise I get way too depressed. I agree. That's why I said within whatever we can, within the time that we have, within the tools that we have, is what we should be doing. Advocacy, protests, making your own personal decisions, making your own personal decisions of what you eat, what you consume, what you buy, or don't buy. I mean, like, these are personal choices that you can do, and you can encourage other people to do so. I mean, like, those are things you can do. That's within your purview. You know? Because otherwise, I get it, 100%, it's not easy. Because the more you know, and the more you realize just how effed the situation is, like, I get it. The more closer to the black pill you get. I welcome the ocean sea level rise, raising my property value. Are you sure that's the only thing that's gonna happen? Stop it. Oh. Oh, I clicked on this. Alright, cool. That was not, I didn't mean that, but okay. Here you go, chat. It was the heaviest rainfall on the ice sheet since record keeping began in 1950, according to the National Snow and Ice Data Center, and the amount of ice mass lost on that summer day was 7 times higher than the daily average for that time of year. While it's inevitable that Arctic rainfall will increase as climate warms, rains are also likely to become more intense. Mark Cerisi, the co-author and the study of the director of NSIDC, told CNN it's a nasty 1-2 punch to an ecosystem already reeling in the face of rapid environmental change. Yeah. So TLDR, like, all of this is just not good. While the projections aren't definitive, McChrystal said more rain events in Greenland and the Arctic region as a whole are expected to occur the more humans continue to pump more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. With the oceans getting warmer and the Greenland rainfall event that happened, there are some indications that things may be even more extreme or changing much more rapidly than even our models are projecting potentially. But the fact that everything is shifting to show that there's greater extremes in precipitation than in itself is an indication of human-induced climate change for sure. Yeah, for like the umpteenth time. Yeah. Well, I feel like doomerism is one of our biggest enemies. Like, do what you can, join climate organizations, join unions. Yeah, like things like this are, again, things within within your personal purview. Please continue to be engaged, continue to participate, and do what you can within the time that you have, within the tools that you have. While I'm not a climate scientist, I have done a few calculations. In my area, the Great Lakes region, should weather, climate change, and sea level rise better than most regions. Yeah, I mean, like, there are going to be places that are going to, quote, weather, you know, the actual, like, climate, weather events and things like that. But, with that comes other ripple effects, right? Social unrest, instability. I mean, like, you could have the best land, the best ground, but when the massive amount of land that is used, the biggest portion of lands that are used to grow food can't actually produce food, it's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? When most of your water supply is threatened, kind of doesn't matter where you live, right? So with that comes other problems, social unrest and things like that. The Midwest will have cycles between droughts and monsoons, but at least it will remain livable. True. Depends on the area. Huh. Interesting. We're gonna go over this, soon. Scientists to map fungal networks to determine their climate role. Interesting. Stream Team 146, thank you for the follow. There are odd consequences of droughts and floods because they tend to impact things like elections. Yeah, like I said, like, there are other ripple effects that happens. Well, I just got a DM whisper. Thank you for the kind words, stream team. Keep up the good work and good vibes. Well, thank you. I'm too much of a boomer to understand that. Google search was the only way. I'm confusing. Echoes of climate change. Someone should write a book about it. Alright, folks. Continuing our journey here. It was no surprise. Okay, so hold on, folks. Jeez. All around us, yeah, so continuing this journal report here between the New York Times and ProPublica. It was no surprise that California property insurers, having watched 26 years worth of profit dissolve over 24 months, began dropping policies, or that California's insurance commissioner, trying to slow the slide, placed a moratorium on insurance cancellations for parts of the state in 2020. In February, legislature introduced a bill compelling California to, in the words of one consumer advocacy group, follow the lead of Florida by mandating that insurance remain available, in this case with a requirement that homeowners first harden their properties against fire. At the same time, participation in California's FAIR Plan for catastrophic fires have grown to at least 180% since 2015, and in Santa Rosa, houses are being rebuilt in the very same wildfire vulnerable zones that proved so deadly in 2017. Given that a new study projects a 20% increase in extreme fire weather days by 2035, that's not that long. such practices suggest a special form of climate negligence. Yeah. And once people realize how F things will get, the law will dissolve. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing to think about, that's for sure. The problems with climate change don't just stop at, oh, well, there's gonna be like, an increase in extreme weather events or anything like that. There's a lot of effects that come into play, which include civil unrest, and the fact that when people start realizing that things like food, things like water are not going to be available, well, all bets are off at that point, right? It's only a matter of time before homeowners begin to recognize the unsustainability of this approach. Market shock, when driven by the sort of cultural awakening to the risk of Keenan observes, can strike a neighborhood like an infectious disease with fear spreading doubt and devaluation from door to door. It happened that way in foreclosure crisis. Yeah, like I've talked about with my parents about this. Like once people realize that their homes in South Florida aren't going to be worth fuck all, there's going to be massive panic. And when that happens, by the time that happens, it's already too late. By the time people realize, I can't actually live here. Like, we just live in an unlivable flood zone that keeps happening. Or, all it takes is one good hurricane. People are going, when that reality sets, that's gonna start a panic, especially here. I can already see it. Right, Silver Knight. Yeah, it's sad to see people year after year rebuilding their houses in the Mississippi River floodplains like take a hit. Yeah. Who are you going to sell it to? Aquaman? Exactly. Like by that time, like they're going to realize it's too late. Keenan calls the practice of drawing arbitrary lending boundaries to the areas around the area's perceived environmental risks as blue lining, and indeed many of the neighborhoods that banks are blue lining are the same ones that were hit by the racist redlining practice in the days past. Now that's interesting. This summer, climate data analysts at the First Street Foundation released map that's showing 70% more buildings in the US are vulnerable to flood risk than previously thought. Most of those underestimated risk was in low-income neighborhoods. Yeah, because F those people. As usually the mindset. Such neighborhoods see little in the way of flood prevention investments. My Bay Area neighborhood, on the other hand, has benefited from consistent investment in efforts to defend it against the ravages of climate change. That questions of livability had reached me here were testament to Keenan's belief that blue lining phenomenon will eventually affect large majorities of equity-holding middle-class Americans too, with broad implications for the overall economy, starting in the nation's largest state. Under the radar, a new class of dangerous debt, climate distress mortgage loans, and have already been threatening the financial system. Lending data analyzed by Keenan and his co-author Jacob Brandt for a study published in the journal Climatic Change in June shows that small banks are liberally making loans on environmentally threatened homes but then quickly passing them along to federal mortgage backers. Holy yikes. At the same time, they have all but stopped lending money for higher-end properties worth too much for the government to accept, suggesting that banks are knowingly passing climate liabilities along to taxpayers as stranded assets. Jesus. That's right, James Napper. I agree. More's TLDR. More's needed. I mean, Jesus Christ. Once home values begin a one-way plummet, it's easy for economists to see how entire communities spin out of control. The tax base declines and school system and civic services falter, creating a negative feedback loop that pushes more people to leave. Rising insurance costs and perception of risk force credit rating agencies to downgrade towns, making it more difficult for them to issue bonds. and plug the springing financial leaks. Local banks, meanwhile, keep securitizing their mortgage debts, slawing off their own liabilities. That is sleazy. That is sleazy. Keaton had a bigger point. All the structural disincentives that had built Americans' irrational response to climate risk are now reaching their logical endpoint. A pandemic-induced economic collapse will only heighten the vulnerabilities and speed the transition, reducing to nothing whatever thin margin of financial protection that has kept people in place. Until now, the market mechanisms had essentially socialized the consequences of high-risk development. But as the costs rise and the insurers quit, the bankers divest, and the farm subsidies prove too wasteful and so on, the full weight of responsibility will fall on the individual people. And that's when the real migration might begin. As I spoke with Keenan last year, I looked out on my own kitchen window onto the hillsides of Parkland, singed brown by months of dry summer heat. This was precisely the land that my utility, PG&E, had 3 times identified as such an imperiled tinderbox that it had to shut off power to avoid fire. It was precisely the kind of wildland-urban interface that all the studies I had read blamed for heightening California's exposure to climate risk. I mentioned this on my phone and then asked Keenan, should I be selling my house and getting, yes, just get out now. Jesus Christ. This is literally 2008 all over again, but worse. But phenomenally worse. Infinitesimally worse. Americans have dealt with climate disaster before. The Dust Bowl, I believe Darknet made an allusion to that before. The Dust Bowl started after the federal government expanded the Homestead Act to offer more land to settlers willing to work the marginal soil of the Great Plains. Millions took up the invitation, replacing hardy prairie grass with thirsty crops like corn, wheat, and cotton. Then, entirely predictable, came the drought. From 1929 to 1934, crop yields across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri plunged by 60%, leaving farmers destitute and exposing the now barren topsoil to dry winds, soaring temperatures. The resulting dust storm, some of them taller than skyscrapers, buried homes whole and blew as far east as Washington. The disaster propelled an exodus of some 2.5 million people, mostly to the west, were newcomers, Okies, not just from Oklahoma, but Texas, Arkansas, and Missouri, unsettled communities, and competed for jobs. Colorado tried to seal its border from climate refugees. In California, they were funneled into squalid shanty towns. Only after the migrants settled and had years to claw back to a decent life did some towns bounce back stronger. The place migrants left behind never fully recovered. 80 years, the Dust Bowl towns still have slower economic growth and lower per capita income than the rest of the country. Dust Bowl survivors and their children are less likely to go to college and live in poverty, and more likely to live in poverty. Climate change made them poor and has kept them poor ever since. Yeah, but like, this is going to be infinitely worse. And again, this kind of just proves how humans have done one heck of a job, right? Completely destroyed this area. The Dust Bowl event will most likely happen again. The Great Plains states today provide nearly half of the nation's wheat, sorghum, and cattle, and much of its corn. The farmers and ranchers there export that food to Africa, South America, and Asia. Crop yields, though, will drop sharply with every degree of warming. By 2050, researchers at the University of Chicago and the NASA Goddard Institute of Space Studies found the Dust Bowl era yields will be the norm. Even as demand for scarce water jumps by as much as 20%. Another extreme drought would drive near total crop losses worse than the Dust Bowl, kneecapping the broader economy. At that point, the authors write, abandonment is one option. Projections are inherently imprecise, but the gradual changes to Americans' cropland, plus the steady baking and burning and flooding, suggest that we are already witnessing a slower forming but much larger replay of the Dust Bowl that will destroy much more than just crops. In 2017, Solomon Siang, a climate economist at the University of California, Berkeley, led an analysis of the economic impact of climate-driven change, like rising mortality and rising energy costs, finding that the poorest counties in the U.S., mostly across South and Southwest, will in some extreme cases face damages equal to more than a third of their gross domestic product. Yikes. In 2018, the National Climate Assessment has also warned that the U.S. economy could overall contract by 10%. That kind of loss typically drives people towards cities, and researchers expect that trend to continue after COVID-19 pandemic ends. In 1950, less than 65% of Americans lived in cities. By 2050, only 10% will live outside them, and in part because of climate change. By 2100, Hauer estimates at Atlanta, Orlando, Houston, Austin could receive more than 250,000 new residents as a result of sea level displacement alone. meaning it may be in maybe those cities, not the empty places that empty out, that wind up bearing the brunt of America's reshuffling. The World Bank warns that fast-moving climate urbanization leads to rising unemployment, competition for services, and deepening poverty. So what will happen to Atlanta, a metro area of 5.8 million people that may lose its water supply, the drought, and that our data also shows will face an increase in heat-driven wildfires? Yikes. Har estimates that hundreds of thousands of climate refugees will move into the city by 2100, swelling its population and stressing its infrastructure. Atlanta, where poor transportation and water system contribute to the state's C+ infrastructure grade last year, already suffers greater income inequality than any other large American city, making it a virtual tinderbox for social conflict. Yikes, 1 in 10 households earn less than $10,000 a year, and rings of extreme poverty are growing on its outskirts even as the city center grows wealthier. Atlanta has started bolstering its defense against climate change, but in some cases has only exacerbated divisions. When the city converted Old Woodside Rock Quarry into a reservoir, part of the green belt to expand parkland, clean the air, and protect against drought, the project also fueled rapid upscale growth, driving the poorest black communities further into impoverished suburbs. Atlanta hasn't fully grappled with such challenges, says Nataki Osborne-Gels, chair of the West Atlanta Watershed Alliance, meaning with more people and higher temperatures, the city might be pushed to what's manageable. So Philadelphia, Chicago, Washington, Boston, and other cities with long neglected systems suddenly pressed to expand under increasingly adverse conditions. Okay. Dang it, I was hoping to finish this. That's correct. It's not like any of these CEOs have a specific liking for the idea of billions of people dying due to climate change. It's a system that is incentivized for them. Correct. Alright folks, unfortunately that is all the time I have today. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Sorry for the short stream. Hopefully we can finish this next time. We've got lots of content to go through. I appreciate all the support. Thank you Dustin, thank you Alio. Thank you for the subs, the follows, the subscriptions, the kind words. I really appreciate it. Thank you Heat, thank you Darknet, thank you Spread It Forward. You have a good one. I appreciate it. Folks, if you haven't already, smack that follow button. You get 5 free emotes. Head on over to our YouTube, hit the like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Join the Discord for offline conversations. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Thank you for the stream. It was great. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate that. Alright, let's head on over to Ben. Alright folks, here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, here we go.